Advaitacharya was the topmost leader of the Brahmin community. Haridas Thakur, by caste, was an untouchable. He was considered by many to be a malecha and a yavana. Advaitacharya was a grihasta. He had wife, he had 6 children. Haridas Thakur was a brahmachari his whole life. Advaitacharya had a really nice house and land. Haridas Thakur just lived in caves. So they were very different types of people. But why did Lord Chaitanya come? Very much on the basis of teaching us the unity when Krishna is in the middle of our lives. When he's in the center of our lives and we build our relationships according to that, then the variegatedness of our relationships, unity and diversity, they're so pleasing to Krishna. There's a famous verse that Lord Vishnu spoke to the Prachetas. There were 10 brothers. They were living together underwater for many, many years. Now usually, how good do even 2 brothers get along in this world? Even if you have a nice house, what to speak of living underwater together? 10. And Vishnu said, because of your friendly relationships with each other, I'm pleased to come here and offer you all benedictions. So Krishna is very pleased with unity in diversity. A Brahman and an untouchable. A Grihasta and a Brahmachari. They were the best of friends. While wherever Haridas was going, he was being discriminated against because of his low birth. By their evaluation. When Advaitacharya performed the Shraddha for his forefathers, which in those days in Bengal was a very, very important part. It was the highlight of the year. And being the leader of the Brahmins, when he did the Shraddha, it was a very prominent festival that every Brahmin had to attend. And the culmination is you choose the most qualified of all the Brahmins and honor that person by giving him the first prasad. And in front of all of the other Brahmins, Sri Advaitacharya called Haridas Thakur to be honored as the senior, most qualified person. And even Haridas was really embarrassed. And Advaita said, by feeding you, I am feeding tens and millions of Brahmins. Because he loved Krishna. So the love and respect between the Grihastha community and the Brahmachari community is very much symbolized here. Haridas was living in caves. He was traveling around. Advaita had such a nice house in Navadvip, nice house in Shantipur. He had an ancestral home in Navagram in Bangladesh area. It's not that there was any enmity. There was no ego. they saw one thing. Haridas Thakur saw in Advaita the loving desire to please Krishna. And Advaita saw in Haridas the loving desire to please Krishna. Together, they were instruments of compassion for the whole world. Haridas Thakur wasn't chanting all day for himself, and Advaita wasn't doing puja all day for himself. They shared the mission of the Lord. They shared this compassion for the suffering of humanity in all beings. And in this way, they would come together every day. Advaita would invite Haridas for prasad. And they not only took prasad together, but they discussed Krishna consciousness together. They discussed their need to bring the Lord to the world together. And they chanted and danced together. It is this example that Lord Chaitanya actually magnified as one of the three reasons why he descended to this world. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to teach this principle of unity and diversity in the relationships of those who are actually his devotees. His Shakti in the Pancha-tattva is Gadadhar Pandit. Gadadhar Pandit was a lifelong brahmachari. He never had the slightest tinge of any desire for anything material. He was really, really simple. He was always chanting, he was always hearing about Krishna, was always doing puja to Krishna. And by Lord Chaitanya's arrangement, who did he accept as his guru? Pundarik Vidyanidhi. This is unity and diversity. Pundarik Vidyanidhi was a grihasta. Gadadhar Pandit was a brahmachari. Gadadhar Pandit lived in the little simple kutir. Pundarik Vidyanidhi lived in a big, beautiful home. Gadadhar Pandit just wore simple Vaishnav sadhu clothes. Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he wore beautiful silks with all kinds of embroidery and like the kind of clothes they make up there for Radha Gopinath. He would have people making clothes like that for him. And he used to wear jewels and necklaces, and he used to put, he had long hair that he combed very thoroughly, and he put very expensive oils in his hair that smelled very nice, fragrant. And when Gadadhar Pandit was invited by Mukunda to meet this Pundarik Vidyanidhi, a great devotee, he saw Pundarik Vidyanidhi dressed in such beautiful, elegant clothes and finely scented hairs and in ornaments, and he was sitting on a beautiful bed with pillows all around him, nice pillows. And Gadadhar was thinking, this is a great devotee. And he was chewing on these very, very costly spices. And every now and then he would look in the mirror and see himself and smile. And he had servants on either side fanning him with chamaras. So Gadadhar didn't say anything, but he was thinking in his mind, I thought I was being brought to meet a great Vaishnav. Because from a brahmachari's perspective, they don't see like that. But Mukunda understood his mind and chanted a beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, describing Krishna. Uddhava is offering this prayer of love. Who else can I offer my heart to than Krishna, who is so merciful? Then even the sister of Bakasura, Putana, who came with the deadly purpose to murder him when he was only an infant child, Krishna gave her the liberation of his own mother in the spiritual world. When he chanted that verse, Pundarik Vidyanidhi went into a state of complete transcendental ecstasy, ananda. And when Gadadhar saw that, he understood. He really loves Krishna. And then all the apparently relative differences between them were finished. And Gadadhar sent to Lord Chaitanya. He said, I want to accept Pundarik Vidyanidhi as my guru. What is your feeling? And Lord Chaitanya said, yes, he is my father. There is no one so great as Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And Gadadhar took initiation from him. There is sukha dukkha, there is material happiness, and there is ananda, spiritual happiness. When we're on this platform of always searching for this happiness and trying to find happiness and avoid distress within the material world, we miss out on ananda, real happiness. Real happiness comes when we give up our desire for selfish happiness. When we simply know that when Krishna's pleased, that's my happiness. When we appreciate Krishna being happy, that's the happiness of the soul. That is seva. We speak about seva, but actual seva is when our true purpose in life is simply to do what makes Krishna happy. And what makes Krishna happy? Krishna tells, to serve and please my devotees is a greater happiness than pleasing me. And that is the principle. Despite the differences, Pundarik Vidyanidhi loved Gadadhar and Gadadhar loved Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Haridas Thakur loved Advaita and Advaita loved Haridas. They were so different. But it was the relationship between Pundarik Vidyanidhi, between Advaitacharya and Haridas Thakur that was so much the reason why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu descended to this world. Lord Chaitanya always treated Advaitacharya as his superior. Because he was elder, he was the age of his grandfather, and he was also the leader of the Brahmin community and such a great devotee and so deeply knowledgeable. Lord Chaitanya would go to touch his feet, and Advaita would try to stop him. But Lord Chaitanya had long arms. Advaita could never stop him. And Advaita always tried to get Lord Chaitanya's dust from his feet, but he could never reach it. Lord Chaitanya was not allowing. So this was the relationship. Lord Chaitanya honored Advaita so much. And one time Lord Chaitanya, he wanted to teach a beautiful lesson. He wanted to teach the lesson that we should not offend Vaishnavas, whoever we are. Srivas, when Lord Chaitanya was giving mercy to everyone, he said, please give love of Krishna to your mother, Sachi Devi. Lord Chaitanya said, no, I cannot give to Sachi Devi. The devotees were shocked. She's your mother, she's given everything for you. He said, Lord Chaitanya said, she has made an offense to Advaita. What was that offense? It wasn't even an offense. But Lord Chaitanya wanted to teach a lesson through his devotees. What happened is this. Vrindavan Das Thakur explains it in great detail. Sachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra, they had many daughters. But all those daughters died just after birth. And finally, they had a son named Vishwarup, who was actually an expansion of Lord Nityananda, Balaram. He was so attractive. He loved Krishna. And when he grew into a teenage boy, he would just spend almost all day with Advaita Prabhu and the other devotees having kirtan and discussing Krishna. He had no interest in anything else. There's a beautiful story how once Sachi Mata told little Nimai, who was born after Vishwarup, go to Advaita's house and bring Vishwarup for prasad. So little Nimai ran over to the house of Advaita in Navadvip and said to Vishwarup that mother is calling, prasad is ready, and then he pulled Vishwarup by the dhoti. When little Nimai came, he was just a small boy covered with dust from playing. Advaita and the other Vaishnavas, they were discussing Krishna. But when they saw him, they didn't know he was Krishna. But their love for Krishna awakened more than any, in such a way that it was inconceivable to them. They were so attracted by the beauty of little Nimai. They just looked at him. They couldn't even talk about Krishna anymore. And then Nimai took Vishwarup away. And Advaita and the devotees were wondering, who is this boy? How is he attracting our hearts like this? So Vishwarup, he would go home for prasad, and whenever he was at home, he would just be in the temple worshiping Krishna. And when he wasn't at home, he was at Advaita's house. So his parents decided he should be married. It's the right time. And they were just making arrangements. When he heard about that, in the middle of the night, without saying anything to anyone, he left home. And really soon after that, the news came, he became a sannyasi. Little Vishwarup, a teenage boy, became a sannyasi. His name became Shankararanya. And he never came home again. He traveled throughout India, ultimately to Pandharpur. So it was very, very great separation in the hearts of Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi, Their eldest son is left. And they loved him so dearly. The only reason they lived is Nimai would tell them that I'm here. I will be with you. They lived only for him. But then Jagannath Mishra had a dream. He had a dream where Nimai was a sannyasi. And Advaita and all the devotees were chanting and dancing all around him and worshiping him. And he was crying when he got up. He was really while he was sleeping, he was, no, Nimai. And Sachi Mata said, what happened? And he told this dream. He said, I think Nimai's going to leave us also and take sannyas. And Sachi Devi said, no, he will not take sannyas. He's so attached to his studies and he loves us so much. But after that dream, Jagannath Mishra left his body. Just with the imminent thought that Nimai would leave. So Sachi Mata was now a widow, and she only lived for Nimai. But after Nimai went to Gaya and received initiation from Ishwara Puri, he was always with the devotees chanting and dancing and discussing Krishna. And when Sachi Mata was thinking that now my Nimai is becoming disinterested in everything except being with the devotees, and Advaita is the leader of the devotees, why is Advaita doing this? He took away my eldest son, and now it appears he's going to take away my only other son. I only live for Nimai. I'm a widow. I have nothing. I only have my child. And now this Advaita, he's going to take him away by his influence. She didn't say anything to anyone. She was just thinking this. And she did say that people call him Advaita, but actually he's Dvaita. That's all she did. But Nimai said she could not get love of Krishna because she offended a great devotee. So when they told Advaita about this, and he came before Lord Chaitanya, and when he was thinking, Sachi Mata, she's Yashoda, she's Devaki, she's Aditi, she's Anasuya, she's Mother Ganga, she's the mother of the universe, she's Sachinanda, she's the mother of my beloved Lord. She's devotion personified. Just thinking about Sachi Mata's qualities, Advaita fell unconscious. And at that moment, Sachi Mata put her head on the feet of Advaita. Because Advaita couldn't imagine giving the dust of his feet to Sachi. And when Sachi felt the devotion of Advaita by touching his feet, she went unconscious. So they were both laying unconscious. And Lord Chaitanya was watching. And then he said, Sachi Mata, today I give you love for Krishna. So the great acharyas explained that the purpose of this pastime was Lord Chaitanya wanted to show how his devotees are so dear to him, how devotees are so loved by him, that even if his own mother, who's the very mother of all bhakti, offends a devotee, he will not give his complete mercy. please Krishna is to be the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. That is what Krishna has revealed to us. We could have our own opinions and our own evaluations and our own justifications, but this is the way Lord Chaitanya taught us. He came in the role of his own devotee to teach us how to be devotees, and he brought his own eternal associates from the spiritual world to teach us by their example. And the most prominent example that they taught us is in their relationships with each other. Despite all of the external differences that they had. Pundarik Vidyanidhi was such a wealthy man, and Kolavecha Sridhar was in utter poverty. But during the kirtans and throughout any other time, they were one in heart. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would see the unity of his devotees chanting and dancing together, that was his great joy. Incredible how the Lord and his associates took such humble positions in this avatar. Rupa Goswami tells. Most magnanimous. Nityananda Prabhu, another member of Pancha-tattva, who broke open the storehouse of love of Godhead, tasted and distributed it. He's Balaram. And we read in Srimad Bhagavatam the prowess of Balaram. Garga Muni gave him this name when he was just an infant boy because he would take such pleasure in displaying his strength, his spiritual strength. In Hastinapur, all the greatest, most powerful generals and soldiers of the Kuru dynasty, when they got a little proud and made an aparad to Krishna, Balaram took his plow and one strike to the ground. The whole Hastinapur separated from the rest of the earth. Hastinapur was kingdom, most powerful kingdom in the world. Bhishma was there. Drona was there. And then effortlessly, with one hand, because with his plow, he was pulling Hastinapur to throw it in the Ganges. Did they get on their chariots to attack Balaram? They got off their chariots. They came before him and bowed down with folded palms and said, Balaram, please forgive us. That's the power of Balaram. Romaharshan Sutta, just to teach the world a good lesson, that even if you're very learned, even if you have the best guru, even if you're honored and worshipped by other sages, if you're arrogant and you don't offer respects to others, you're not qualified. And by touching Romaharshan with a blade of grass, Romaharshan, his life ended. That's Balaram. So many beautiful stories. He's the origin of Ananta Shesha, who holds all the universes on his heads. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Patayate. But Lord Nityananda came with Lord Chaitanya in the role of a devotee and took such a humble position. Balaram was going house to house with Haridas Thakur. Who's Lord Brahma? What is the power of Lord Brahma? But as Lord Chaitanya's associates, in the role of devotees, they took such humble positions. Lord Brahma is getting persecuted for being an untouchable, and he's just humbly everyone's well-wisher. Balaram and Brahma are a preaching team as Nitai and Haridas. And they're going house to house asking everyone, please chant the names of Krishna. Please worship Krishna. Please talk about Krishna. Krishna is your mother and your father, your wealth and your life. If you just chant Krishna's names, you will be my life and soul. And even when Jagai and Madhai smashed Nityananda Prabhu on the head with a pot and made him bleed, as Balaram, he could have reacted. But he just stood there bleeding and begged them, please take the name of Krishna, I forgive you. And ultimately they became Paramhamsa, Mahabhagavat devotees, Jagai and Madhai, by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. When the simple townspeople of Navadvip came to Lord Chaitanya with gifts, he gave them a simple message. He said, just chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Do japa of these names and come together with your family and your friends and chant kirtan of these names. Whether you're alone or whether you're 5 or 10 or 20, you could clap your hands, you could play instruments. Come together and chant this holy name. There's no hard and fast rules. Whatever you're doing, include Krishna's name. In this way you will become my life and soul. And when Lord Chaitanya would come out and see the devotees chanting, these common people, whoever they were, whether they were rich or poor, or learned or illiterate, if he saw anybody together chanting and clapping and kirtan together, he was so pleased. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Radha Krishna, it describes in the scriptures when Radha Krishna appear, all the other avatars are within the body of Krishna. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here, Narsingha was within him. Sometimes he manifested that form of Narsingha. Varaha was within him. One time he was walking down the street with Srivas, and he happened to hear somebody reciting Vishnu Sahasranam, and they said the name of Narsingha. And he manifested his Narsingha bhav. He roared. And people were running away in total fear. And Srivas said, please, Lord, you're scaring people away. And Lord Chaitanya came back to external consciousness and said, I'm very sorry, I scared people. And Srivas said, no, you shouldn't be sorry, because anyone who saw you got liberated. So he became Narsingha. To Chand Kazi, he appeared as Narsingha Dev, actually. To Murari Gupta, he came to Murari's house. He heard the name of Varaha. So he appeared in the form of Varaha Dev and went into Murari's temple, and there was a little water pot, a lota, and he put it in his tusks and was dancing. To Advaitacharya, he manifested his Virat Rupa, his universal form, the same form he showed Arjuna in the battle of Kurukshetra. He manifested his bhav and his rupa of Dattatreya to Sachi Devi. When he took the sacred thread from his father and he went out to get bakshish, he appeared as in his form of Vamanadev. So all of the incarnations are within Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And yet Lord Chaitanya, whoever it may be, man, woman, or child, old or young, whoever was chanting Krishna's name together with others, Lord Chaitanya was bowing down to them with his heart. He would personally put a garland on them. He would personally make chandan and decorate their bodies. And with tears in his eyes, he would thank them. He would tell them, "You are my life and soul because you have accepted Krishna." That was the example he established. And that was the example of his devotees. Nitai, Haridas, Advaita, Srivas. Srivas is Narada Muni. It's a fast day, so I guess I'm not interfering with your prasad. Srivas is Narada Muni. What is his powers? Narada Muni bhajai vina radhika ramana name. He's traveling around the universe. He goes to Vaikuntha, he goes to Indraloka, he goes to Shivaloka, anywhere. He's the guru of the Mahajans, Prahlad. He's the guru of Dhruva. He's the guru of the Prachetas. He's the guru of Valmiki Muni, the author of Ramayana. Very powerful person. In Krishna Lila, when Narada Muni came to Kamsa's palace, Kamsa bowed down to him. Kamsa offered so many sweet words to Narada Muni. This is his power. Magrari, the most wicked hunter, became a Paramhamsa, pure Vaishnav. So that Narada Muni, just to assist Krishna in his most magnanimous pastimes as Lord Chaitanya, appeared as Srivas. Narada Muni is really a brahmachari. By his influence, all the sons of Daksha became brahmacharis. Now, let us see if any of our brahmacharis would dare to preach to Daksha's sons, knowing that Daksha will be really angry. The demigods bow down to Ma Daksha, he's so powerful. But Narada Muni's fearless. But yet he comes as Srivas, and he's a grihasta. He has a wife, Malini, and he honors her and respects her with such devotion and love, and he has a son. And as Narada Muni, when they're during the kirtans in his home at night, Gopal Chapala was a Brahmin. And he was outraged by this Srivas. Why doesn't he let me in? So he wanted to disgrace Srivas. So he put all sorts of puja paraphernalia for those who are really, really in the lower modes of ignorance. He put it in front of his house. And then he started broadcasting that Srivas is pretending to be a great devotee, but actually secretly this is what he is. And because Gopal Chapala broadcasted like that, people came and they saw. And Srivas came out, and he didn't deny it. He just said, yes, this is what I do at night secretly. But nobody believed him. This is Narada Muni. Such a humble position as Srivas Thakur. And while Lord Chaitanya was chanting in his house, Srivas's son died. And all the ladies were crying, and Srivas came into the room and said, what happened? He said, your son just died. Of course he loved his son. But he loved Lord Chaitanya so much. He said, Lord Chaitanya's dancing in ecstasy. If he finds out my son died, it will disturb his ecstasy. So everyone cries silently so you don't disturb him. And he said, and if you disturb his dancing, then I will have to jump in the Ganga and end my life. This is his Anand. His Anand is Lord Chaitanya's pleasure. And the kirtan went on for hours and hours and hours, and Srivas was dancing with all the devotees. And Lord Chaitanya finally stopped the kirtan and said, I feel some sadness in this house. Did something happen? Nobody said anything. And Lord Chaitanya looked at Srivas. Did something happen in this house? And Srivas said, my Lord, with your dancing and chanting here, everything is auspicious and happy. That's all he said. Then another devotee said, actually, Srivas's son died many hours ago. Lord Chaitanya said, why didn't anybody tell me? Srivas didn't want to disturb your happiness. Lord Chaitanya began to cry. He said, Srivas, you love me so much. You were waiting. Even the death of your own son, you put that aside so that it wouldn't interfere with my happiness. How could I ever be separated from a devotee like you, whose love for me is so much? Narada Muni appeared in such a humble role in the example that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was giving to the world. And Gadadhar Pandit, he's Srimati Radharani directly. But he's a brahmachari for life. And while he was living in Puri, so many beautiful pastimes. Lord Chaitanya would come to his house every day at Tota Gopinath temple. And the two of them would discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya, the greatest ultimate happiness was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam being spoken by Gadadhar Pandit. By hearing the beautiful kirtan of Swarup Damodar Goswami. Because what is Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described, after Krishna left this world, he personally descended and incarnated as the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the very essence and purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is Dharma Projita Kaitavatra. It puts aside Artha, Dhamma, Kama, Moksha, everything, just to establish pure unalloyed devotional service. And its culmination is in the love of Sri Radha for Krishna. We read about the Pandavas and about Dhruva and Prahlad, Ambarish, Prachetas, Rantidev. We read about Gajendra's surrender, but it all culminates with Krishna's Vrindavan Leela. And in Krishna's Vrindavan Leela, the devotees have, Krishna opens his heart with such intimacy to his devotees that the cowherd boys are jumping on his shoulders, thinking he's my friend. And Yashoda Mai, not only does she sometimes bind up Krishna with rope, but she's thinking that Krishna is completely helpless and depends on me for his nourishment and protection. And the gopis sometimes chastise Krishna. And it describes that when the gopis chastise Krishna, he completely forgets all the sages who are chanting Vedic hymns to him. That is the spontaneity of his love. And Kaviraj Goswami tells us that of each of the different types of devotees, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, Madhuryaras, they all naturally feel that their love for Krishna is best. Yayatamam papadyante tamstataiva bhajamya. Krishna reveals himself and reciprocates according to how we surrender. So for the servants of Krishna, there's nothing else they would want to do. For them, it's the best. For Hanuman, Seva to Ram is the best. For Kausalya, motherly affection for Ram is the ultimate highest. For the Gopas, playing with Krishna and the cowherd with the other boys and joking and dancing and stealing each other's prasad and taking care of Krishna's loving cows and calves, there's nothing higher than this. And for Nanda, Yashoda, there can absolutely be nothing higher than the ecstasy of the love of having Krishna completely depending on your love. And for the gopis, nothing could be sweeter than loving Krishna as your supreme and exclusive beloved. So in that sense, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami tells that everyone, Krishna reciprocates in such a way that whatever love they are feeling from him and with him is the highest for them. But if we look at it objectively, the Shringar Ras, or the love of the gopis, is the highest because it includes every other type of love. The nature of gopis, they are willing to suffer any situation forever if it gives Krishna a moment of pleasure. That is the purity of their love. The love of this world on the basis of the mind and senses is called kama. It has a beginning and an end. It's based on misconception and all too often various levels of selfishness. But when that propensity to love is directed toward Krishna, the supreme object of every soul's love, that love is selfless. The gopis want nothing for themselves. They only want Krishna's happiness. It's the purest love. And when Krishna met with the gopis on bank of Yamuna in the forest of Vrindavan, and he saw how they gave up everything only for his pleasure, Krishna told them that your love is so great, I cannot repay it. And Kaviraj Goswami explains it in this way. Krishna made a promise that according to your surrender, I will reciprocate accordingly. But the gopis' love was so great that Krishna had to admit the breaking of his promise. He said, your love for me is so great, I cannot reciprocate accordingly. I have no power to do so. I give you my heart. I give you myself. I'm forever your debtor. Forever in debt. And of the gopis, the perfection of that love culminates in the source of all love, Srimati Radharani, the Hladini Shakti. Krishna is the Vishaya Vigraha, the ultimate object of all love. And Krishna, Sri Radharani is Ashray Vigraha, the ultimate abode of all love. The Srimad Bhagavatam culminates with revealing to the world from the mouth of Sukadeva Goswami the supreme treasure house of Sri Radha's love. That is Srimad Bhagavatam. At Tota Gopinath temple, it was Gadadhar Pandit speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vrindavan Das Thakur tells every story of the Srimad Bhagavatam, every word of Srimad Bhagavatam is springing from Sri Radha's love. When Lord Chaitanya met Devananda Pandit, the great speaker of Bhagavatam, he told him, whenever you talk Bhagavatam, every word is only intended to awaken pure devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Krishna coming to taste the sweetness of Radha's love. Gadadhar Pandit is Srimati Radharani herself as the subordinate devotee of Lord Chaitanya. And for hours and hours every day together they would taste the sweetness of Srimad Bhagavatam. And when Gadadhar Pandit and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would discuss the pastimes of Dhruva or Prahlad, Lord Chaitanya would have Gadadhar read it over again. Dhruva Maharaj stories, many chapters. After reading the whole thing, most of us would say, okay, let's go on to the next. Lord Chaitanya would say, read it again. Gadadhar Pandit would read it. Second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, sixth time. Lord Chaitanya could not hear the story of Dhruva Maharaj less than 100 times in a row before he could go on to the next story. And the same with Prahlad Maharaj. Now here's Radharani, Gadadhar, with Krishna Radha, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, discussing Dhruva and discussing Prahlad over and over and over again, weeping tears and tears and tears. That's how much the Lord appreciates bhakti, devotion. And the culmination is the 10th canto. the beautiful pastimes of Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his associates came to give us that. The love of the residents of Vrindavan. And they all assumed such magnanimous forms as devotees, with such humility, with such forgiveness and tolerance. And it's not that we should hear these stories and think, well, that's them, they're great. It's true. We cannot imitate them. But the reason they're having pastimes like this is to give an example for us that we must follow if we want to please them. Today's verse, the Pancha-tattva. Lord Chaitanya appeared in 5 features to come to this world to teach by their examples. And their greatest example, they were totally united with one another, tasting the sweetness of loving devotional service to Sri Krishna through the 9 processes of devotional service, primarily kirtans of the holy name. And tasting the sweetness of the holy names together, sharing it with one another, and distributing it to the people in general. This was Lord Chaitanya's mission, to taste the sweetness of pure bhakti and to distribute it through the chanting of the holy names. That is the Leela of the Pancha-tattva. Srila Prabhupada, he fully realized this truth. And from Sri Vrindavan Dham, where he made his home, he traveled to Navadvip. But he came to Bombay also. So I'll start over again. From Vrindavan Dham, Srila Prabhupada lived for many years in the place of Krishna's Ras Leela, Radha Damodar temple, meditating on Sri Rupa Goswami's mercy. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate. Praying for Sri Rupa Goswami's blessings to fulfill the order that he received from his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, to share the message of Lord Chaitanya with the whole world. From his home, his eternal home in Vrindavan, he came to Mumbai, where, like a beggar, he wasn't begging for money. He was begging for the opportunity to fulfill his Guru's order. Here in Mumbai, he begged Sumati Maharaji, give me passage on your cargo ship to America. Then he went to Navadvip, where he prayed for the blessings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he prayed for the mercy of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada at his samadhi. And he prayed for the blessings of Sri Advaita Acharya at Shantipur. And then from Calcutta, he boarded the Jaladuta. Because even at the age of just on the verge of 70 years old, he wanted to assist the Pancha-tattva in distributing the storehouse, the contents of the storehouse of love of God, everywhere without discrimination. Such faith. That was 1965. And this is a very special Gaur Purnima, because this is the year of Gaur Purnima, which is the 50th anniversary year of when Srila Prabhupada came from Vrindavan to Mumbai. Where he was giving Bhagavad Kathas here in Mumbai 50 years ago. It was here that he sat on the steps of Sumati Maharaj's office. She said, "I will not give you a ticket, Swamiji, because America is very cold. The people, the weather, everything. You are too old, you will die. If I send you there, you will die. I cannot send you there." She was a devotee of Krishna. A very dear devotee of Srinathji, who's here in our temple. She was a great devotee of the Pushti Marg of Sripad Vallabhacharya. She loved Prabhupada. She kind of had like that affection. I cannot. But Prabhupada, he sat at the doorstep and she sent his secretary, "What is he doing sitting in the steps?" He said, "I will not." They said, she sent prasad to him. He said, "I will not eat until I get a ticket." So she gave him the ticket on a cargo ship. That wonderful pastime of Prabhupada's Leela in Mumbai was 50 years ago. And once he got his passage on Jaladuta, which was living from Calcutta, then he went to Navadvip and he went to Shantipur, and then on Friday the 13th of August, 1965, he boarded Jaladuta. So today, it is the glorious day of Gaur Purnima, on the year of the 50th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's departing from Mumbai and Calcutta to spread the mission of the Pancha-tattva all over the world. Let us very sincerely try to receive with grateful hearts the great sacrifice of Srila Prabhupada, what he has given us. He's given us the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is the example that he and his devotees established to teach us how each and every one of us can awaken that highest treasure of Prema Bhakti, love for Krishna, and how dear we will be to them if we share it with each other and share it with the world. Gratitude is expressed through how we follow with the purpose of pleasing our beloved Srila Prabhupada as the servant of the servant of the servant of his servants, without false prestige, without ulterior motives. That simple state of mind will attract Krishna's limitless ocean of mercy. Let us celebrate today and forevermore together. Let us raise our arms and very gratefully, loudly share our hearts while chanting the Maha Mantra.